Long ago, a buddy of mine worth tens of millions of dollars tried to book this room. He pulled every string he could but couldn't get it. He had to regretfully settle for the silver box instead. Hearing this made everyone even more. Orville Hudson, the Kingpin of Orris Hill? Of course, Clyde said. If I didn't know him well, how could I have the clout to book the golden box so easily? Although Clyde acted confident, the truth was he knew of Orville, but Orville had no idea who he was. The only reason he'd managed to book the golden box was by paying a ridiculous amount of money, far more than the original price, to buy the reservation off someone else. Bringing up Orville was just a power move, a way to make himself look more important in front of everyone. But no one there doubted a word of it. After all, they were standing right inside the exclusive room. Everyone assumed Clyde was telling the truth, and they immediately started showering him with compliments. At that moment, with everyone praising him, Clyde felt on top of the world. He shot a condescending look at Jacob and said sarcastically, "Jacob, don't you see the chairman and all the directors are seated? What's wrong with you? Hurry up and get us some drinks." Jacob's face darkened. He shot back, "Clyde, what are you trying to say?" Clyde scoffed. "What do you think I mean? Just look around. Every single person in this room has a higher status than you. You're just an old has-been. If you're not going to serve us, are you expecting us to serve you?" Jacob's expression soured, and he shot back angrily. "Fine. I'll admit my standing isn't as high as the chairman's or the other directors. I get that. But who do you think you are? We're all just regular members of the association. So what gives you the right to act all high and mighty with me? You want me to get you coffee and water? In your dreams." Rory, who was standing beside him, also spoke up, clearly annoyed. "Clyde, don't you think you're going a bit too far?" Clyde laughed. "What's wrong with what I said? It's Jacob's fault for being such a pathetic loser. If he could book a room like the Golden Box, I'd be happy to serve him myself. But the thing is, he can't. He doesn't have what it takes." Then he shot Jacob a cold look and said, "Did you really think I invited you to the Golden Box just so you could eat and drink for free? Let me be honest, for a guy like you, letting you pour our herbal tea is already a huge honor, so don't push your luck." Jacob gritted his teeth, annoyed, furious. If he had known Clyde was going to be this vicious, coming at him like a junkyard dog, he never would have bothered with this whole thing. Just as Jacob was feeling completely speechless and uncomfortable, Orville's car pulled up to the entrance of the mansion. The first thing he did after getting out of the car was rush to ask the manager who opened the door, "Did a man named Jacob reserve one of our private rooms for today?" "Yes, he's in Bronze Level 3. The manager kept a detailed record of the day's reservations, so, of course, he knew about every guest who had booked a room. Orville nodded and said, "Quick, take me there." At the Smith family's banquet, Mr. Wade had told him that his father-in-law would be dining at his restaurant and that he should take good care of him. How could he let the man sit in a plain old bronze box? He needed to be in the diamond box. Orville rushed to the door of bronze box number 3 and found it open, but the room was empty. He was surprised for a second and asked the waitress inside, "Hey, where's Mr. Wilson, the man who booked this room?" The waitress quickly replied, "Mr. Orville, he was here before, but some other guests just invited him upstairs to the Golden Box. He's in Golden Box number 2. Orville immediately told the manager, "Come on, follow me." Meanwhile, up in the Golden Box, Clyde was looking at Jacob coldly, a sneer on his face. "Jacob, with your skill level, I don't think you're even qualified to be in the Fine Arts Society. Why are you even embarrassing yourself by running for executive director?" Jacob said, "You're saying I'm not qualified? I think you're the one who isn't. Even if I'm not the most qualified, I still managed to score a major find at the vintage market. I bought something for a few thousand and sold it for hundreds of thousands. Have you ever done that?" Clyde said with contempt, "You're just full of hot air." It's easy to talk big. You can say whatever you want. You could claim you found something for 1,000 and sold it for tens of millions. The question is, who's going to believe you?
Jacob scoffed and said, "Believe it or not, go down to the vintage market and ask Irvin Jones. I snagged a major find, and he bought it right off me."
Irvin Jones? Clyde frowned and blurted out,
"Irvin Jones is a notorious shark down at the vintage market. He's a total snake, the shadiest dealer in the whole place. You're telling me he'd spend hundreds of thousands on something of yours? Get out of here. I don't believe that for a second."
Jacob said with a sneer, "If you don't believe me, you can go ask him yourself tomorrow."
"Yeah, right," Clyde said with a smirk. "I'm not wasting my time with your nonsense."
"Don't you know who I am? Are you even worthy of eating with us? Now hurry up and pour everyone's wine. If you can't even handle that, then get out of here. Stop being such an eyesore." Jacob was trembling with rage and about to say something when a voice suddenly called out from behind him.
"Ugh, who the hell do you think you are, talking to Mr. Wilson like that? You must have a death wish."
When everyone heard the voice, they looked toward the door. Orville was walking into the private room with the hotel manager right behind him. Of course, Clyde knew Orville. Seeing him, Clyde rushed forward and said respectfully, "Mr. Orville, what brings you here in person?" But Orville just gave him a cold look and asked, "Were you the one who just insulted Mr. Wilson?" Clyde froze. What did he mean? Orville knew Jacob? Thinking fast, he quickly tried to explain. "Mr. Orville, this must be a misunderstanding. Jacob and I are both in the Fine Arts Society. We're usually on good terms. A little teasing now and then is no big deal." Orville frowned. Then he saw Jacob and hurried over, speaking respectfully. "Mr. Wilson, I didn't realize you were visiting the mansion today. Please forgive my poor hospitality." Everyone in the room was stunned. Clyde, in particular, broke out in a cold sweat. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The Kingpin Orville, a famous name all over Orris Hill, was being this respectful to Jacob, that old nobody? This had to be some kind of joke. It wasn't just Elijah and the others who were surprised. Jacob was just as taken aback. He couldn't help but ask, "Do you know me?" Orville explained humbly, "The last time, at the Sterling Club, when Mr. Wade ordered me to deal with Caleb Morrison and his son-in-law. I had the good fortune of seeing you there." Jacob asked again, "The Mr. Wade you're talking about, is that my son-in-law, Charlie?" Orville replied solemnly, "Yes, that's Mr. Wade." It all clicked for Jacob. He finally understood. Why would someone with Orville's status ever lower himself to be so respectful to an ordinary guy like him with no money or power? It was all because of his son-in-law, Charlie. It seemed his son-in-law's bluffing had its perks. At least until the whole act came crashing down, he could ride his coattails. Just then, Orville pointed at Clyde and asked Jacob, "Mr. Wilson, I heard this man insulting you earlier. Would you like me to teach him a lesson?" Clyde's face went white with fear. He quickly pleaded, "Jacob, man, we're in the same association. We're like brothers. You have to put in a good word for me." "And what am I supposed to say for you?" Jacob shot back, a smug look on his face. "You said it yourself. I'm just an old nobody who pours herbal tea and water. What kind of influence do I have?" Clyde started to wail, his face twisted in regret. "Oh, my good friend, please don't be like that with me. I was just messing with you," Jacob chuckled. "Oh no, a poor old guy like me wouldn't dare to be your good friend. It's probably best if we just keep our distance from now on." Clyde knew Jacob still hated him, and he was filled with regret. If he had known Orville was so respectful to Jacob, he would have died before acting so arrogantly. Staring down at Clyde, Orville said in an icy tone, "You're on my turf, and you have the nerve to disrespect Mr. Wilson? You got a death wish or something?" Clyde's face went chalk white. His lips trembled so badly he couldn't even speak. Pointing at Clyde, Orville shouted to the men behind him,
Come on, drag this guy out and rough him up, especially his mouth. Break it for me. When Clyde heard this, he got so scared he immediately dropped to his knees in front of Orville and yelled, "Mr. Orville, I'm so sorry. I didn't know Jacob was your honored guest. It was all my fault, and I apologize. Please forgive me, just this once." He really couldn't believe that Jacob's son-in-law was such a big shot. Even the powerful Kingpin of Orris Hill was acting like Jacob's lapdog. Just as he tried to beg for more mercy, some of Orville's bodyguards stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. Clyde was instantly dazed, and then a few of the strong bodyguards started punching and kicking him. He looked absolutely miserable. Orville looked at Clyde coldly and said, "Let me ask you, why are you targeting Mr. Wilson at every turn?" Clyde, his face covered in blood, cried and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Orville. I was just competing with Jacob for the standing director position at the Fine Arts Society, so I couldn't help but run my mouth. Please, forgive me." Orville ignored him, turning to the crowd in the private room and asking, "Who's the head of the Fine Arts Society?" Elijah quickly spoke up. "Mr. Orville, I'm the president of the Fine Arts Society." Orville nodded, pointed at Clyde, and said coldly, "I'm asking you, how does trash like this get into your Fine Arts Society? How did you even become the president? Are you even capable of doing the job? If not, you can get out and let someone else do it." Elijah shuddered with fear. Desperate to save his own skin, he blurted out, "I'll resign tomorrow. And when I do, Jacob must be elected as the new president of the Fine Arts Society." When Jacob heard this, he quickly waved his hand and said, "Oh no, President Sanford, I can't do that. I'm not qualified to be the chairman. I'd be perfectly happy just being a standing director." Elijah insisted, "If Mr. Orville thinks you can do it, then you can do it." Jacob waved his hand again, saying, "I'm really not experienced enough. I can't accept that position." At this point, Orville looked at Elijah and said, "Since you're the president, let me give you a suggestion." After a pause, Orville pointed to Clyde and said, "First, get rid of this piece of trash permanently." Elijah blurted out, "Absolutely! I'll have him removed completely by tomorrow." Orville grunted in approval, then pointed at Jacob and said, "Mr. Wilson is very knowledgeable about vintage paintings and letters. Since he's being humble and doesn't want to be chairman, you should give him the position of executive director. Understand?" Elijah quickly promised, "Yes, of course. I'll do exactly as you've ordered, Mr. Orville." Then his expression shifted as he turned to Clyde and announced, "Clyde, I'm officially telling you that as of this moment, you are expelled from the Orris Hill Fine Arts Society, and you are banned for life." Clyde's heart sank into despair. To be honest, he didn't really have much skill in appraising treasures. The only reason he'd gotten into the Orris Hill Fine Arts Society was that he'd paid his way in. He usually used his membership in the Fine Arts Society to run scams all over town. He figured being a standing director would make it easier to con people out of their money. But he never expected to get kicked out for good just for offending Jacob. But he didn't dare say a word. After all, Orville was right there, and the pressure was too much for him to handle. Just when he had accepted his fate, Orville looked at him and said in a cold voice, "You think you're a big shot? Well, I'm going to find a place for you that really highlights your so-called status." With that, Orville ordered his guard, "Take him away. Find the filthiest pig farm around and let him live with the dirtiest old sow for a week. For that entire week, he'll eat, drink, and sleep right alongside that sow. He'll eat what she eats. He'll sleep where she sleeps. I want him to experience what real VIP treatment feels like." Clyde's face went pale. He was instantly terrified, his heart sinking with despair. They were going to make him live and sleep with an old sow and eat pig food? That was just too repulsive, wasn't it? Never mind how filthy the pigsty was. Just the thought of the old sow's foul, stinking smell was sickening. Sleeping next to her would be enough to make him puke.
Besides, the pig food was just slop. With no air moving and the stifling heat, it would spoil within a few hours. How could his pampered body, which he'd cared for over so many years, possibly handle that? And he had to live like that for a whole week. After a week, he'd never be the same person again. Thinking of this, he quickly pleaded with Orville. "Mr. Orville, please, have mercy on me. Forgive me. I don't want to sleep with the sow. The place is too dirty. I can't stand it." Orville sneered. "Can't stand it? Fine, we'll double it. 2 weeks." Clyde wailed loudly. Orville warned him, crying, "Okay, add another week for the tears." Jacob felt that Clyde had been beaten enough. Punishing him by making him live with a sow for 3 weeks was going too far. "Maybe let's skip the pig farm," he said. "That place is seriously filthy." Orville nodded and said, You're right. Pig farms are pretty disgusting, and they stink. That's why I don't own one." As he spoke, a thought suddenly struck him, and his face lit up. "You know," he said excitedly, "I do have a kennel out in the suburbs. It's full of some very expensive fighting dogs. We could just feed him to the dogs. Saves us a lot of trouble. Plus, it's clean and efficient. I'm sure he'd love that." Upon hearing this, Clyde was so scared that he pissed his pants. Who would choose to die if they could live? Anything was better than dying. So what if it meant sleeping and eating with a sow? He had to accept it. Desperate to live, he immediately pleaded, "Mr. Orville, I'll do it. Let me go live with the sow." Orville nodded, satisfied. "Take him away," he ordered. "And remember, find the filthiest pig farm you can." Afterwards, a few brawny guys dragged the bruised and swollen Clyde away, leaving a table full of stunned guests. When Elijah and the others saw this, their faces twitched. They couldn't help but think that Clyde's fate was beyond miserable. But who could he blame? He had brought it all on himself. If he had just been a little nicer to Jacob, none of this would have happened. As Clyde was carted off to begin his 3-week luxury tour of a pigsty, Orville turned to Jacob and said respectfully, "Mr. Wilson, that guy just relieved himself on the floor. So that you and your guests aren't disturbed, please, allow me to move you to the diamond box for your meal. Everything today is on the house, courtesy of the mansion." Hearing this, Elijah and the others were completely floored. What? Had they heard him correctly? It was one thing for the notorious Kingpin of Orris Hill to be so respectful to Jacob, but now he was bending over backward for him, offering up the most exclusive suite in the mansion, the diamond box? Only a select few in all of Orris Hill could ever dream of booking the diamond box at the mansion, but here was Orville, practically falling over himself to get on Jacob's good side, offering it to him without even being asked, and for free no less. If word of this got out, no one would ever believe it. Jacob was a little surprised too. He hesitated, saying, "Is this really okay?" Orville said seriously, "Mr. Wilson, you're Mr. Wade's father-in-law. Of course the diamond box is the most appropriate place for you to have dinner." When Jacob heard that, he relaxed and said smoothly, "That's very kind of you, Mr. Orville. You're too polite." That's when Elijah and the others realized that Jacob was a much more important person than they thought. If they could get on his good side, things would definitely be easier for them in the future. After that, Orville personally led everyone to the diamond box. Elijah and the others followed Jacob, their faces full of respect. None of them dared to act overly familiar or important. Jacob took it all in, and he couldn't help but smile, overjoyed. Just a moment ago, he was desperate to treat them to dinner, but now they were all in awe of him. In that moment, Jacob felt like Charlie had really made him look good. While Jacob was being led by Orville to the luxurious diamond box, Finian, his son, and the 5 Wells family bodyguards led by Keon Marsh arrived at the entrance of the mansion. Finian's face was a mask of cold, murderous rage. For some time now, his son, Gage, had been forced to live with two large characters carved on his forehead, an existence worse than death. Until today, he hadn't dared to get revenge for his son because he couldn't afford to cross the two people responsible, Charlie and Orville. The humiliation was immense. His son had to come to the mansion once a week so Orville could inspect the lettering on his forehead. This was a profound shame for both him and his son. But tonight, he was going to make Orville pay for what he'd done. He had brought his son along specifically because tonight was Gage's scheduled weekly visit. He planned to have his son use the check-in as an opportunity to scope out the situation inside the mansion. He wanted to know where Orville was and how many bodyguards he had with him. If he just rushes in without knowing what's going on, Orville might get away. So he turned to Gage, who was standing beside him, and said, "Son, you're going to go in a little later. I want you to see what it's like in there now, but be careful. I need you to find out exactly where Orville is, how many of his guys are at the mansion, and just get a feel for the whole situation. Then come back and tell me everything. Got it?" Gage gritted his teeth and nodded. "I know, Dad," he said. "Don't worry, I'll figure it out." Finian patted his shoulder, pleased. "Good son," he said. "Dad is going to get revenge for you tonight. Mr. Orville is going to pay with his life." Gage quickly asked, "Dad, what about Charlie? He's the other one who humiliated me, not just Orville. He has to die too." "Don't worry," Finian Harrison said seriously. "We kill Orville tonight. Then, I'll be the new Kingpin of Orris Hill. After that, we'll team up with the Wells family and kill Charlie. We'll send him to keep Orville company." Gage Harrison was suddenly overcome with excitement. Thinking about all the humiliation he had been through, tears welled up in his eyes. He touched the scar Orville had carved into his forehead and said through his tears, "Dad, can we get these words off my forehead?" Finian's voice was dark and vicious. "Good son, don't you worry. After we kill those two bastards, Dad will take you to Cuba for the best cosmetic surgery. We'll get rid of that scar for good." Before today, every time Gage came to the mansion to see Orville with the words "poor hanging" carved on his forehead, it tore him up inside. Every time he showed up, the guests and staff at the mansion would stare, which was beyond humiliating. But today was different. Today was Orville's last day. After tonight, Orville would be completely wiped out of Orris Hill. Instead, his father Finian would be the new boss. Then, his father would become the Kingpin of Orris Hill. People would respect him, calling him Mr. Finian Harrison. Then I'll finally get this humiliating scar removed from my forehead, and I'll be free from the shadow of those words forever. Gage could barely contain his excitement at the thought. Just then, after spotting his son in the car, Finian turned and spoke